What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Brand+Shred. I'll tell you what, I get excited a lot. We have a lot of incredible guests on the show, but I don't know if I've been excited as I am today because I've got Mihn Nguyen. What's Up Mortgage, guys? If you don't follow him on IG, TikTok, all the social platforms, you are absolutely missing out because one of the biggest things that I get asked these days is, well, hey, Josh, when I'm building a brand, should I go on TikTok? Should I be doing IG Reels? Where should I be starting? Who's a great example? And we're going to be getting into that today. We're going to have Mihn going over what he's done, and he's been a mortgage professional for a long time, and I'm sure he struggled just like you have when it comes to starting a brand. So, ladies and gentlemen, very excited to be welcoming Mihn Nguyen, What's a Mortgage Guy, to the show. What's up, brother? How are you today?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Really appreciate that. No, it's
Do
going good. Just taking it day by day. Every day there's a new challenge. Every day there's a new obstacle, and every day there's another victory.
Wait a minute. You're telling me as a mortgage professional you have challenges? Wait, what? That never happens for us, right?
Every day, even at this point now where I don't take as many calls, but I still deal with challenges every day
Nice,
because
dude.
you have to protect your brand. So when there's heat, you gotta step up. You gotta step up and show face for it.
Okay, now you're like literally derailing my conversation points already, which I freaking love because you have to protect your brand. So I mean, fundamentally, when it comes to a brand, when you think about your brand, what is a brand to you? Because now you said that, I'm like, oh, I got to hear what he thinks. What is a brand?
Our brand is your identity, who you are as a person. Who you are. Like, do you really care or do you not really care? Are you just selling or telling? Your brand identifies to the consumer who you really are.
Like we could end this entire podcast right there, and everybody listening got that one valuable nugget. Because I say the same thing, which is so crazy, is because your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's not so much like, oh, like I'm creating content and look at me, look at this great TikTok. It's like you said, do they trust you? Do they have confidence in you? Especially when it comes to the mortgage process and mortgage transaction, like they're literally making one of the biggest financial decisions they've ever made in their entire life. And your brand, your representation of that transaction is huge. So it's so funny because you're brilliant at creating content, and hearing somebody like you say that, they're like, hey, this whole is superficial. The content is superficial, but at the end of the day, if my clients aren't being taken care of, my brand, the shit that I'm doing on TikTok, the shit that I'm doing on Instagram doesn't matter.
Correct.
That's crazy. That's so cool to hear. That makes me even more excited to kind of dive into this conversation. So, as we do, for those who don't know you and your background, maybe share just a little bit. And I'm sure when you got your start in the mortgage industry, I'm sure you weren't a little kid saying, hey, I want to be a mortgage professional. Like, that's my dream. That's my career. I want to be a mortgage pro. So, how did you get started in the business?
Well, I got started in 2003. Right. In
Dang, man.
2003, my boss back then, he was actually younger than me. His name was John Carlo Maniaci. He was working at Stearns back then. And remember when e-faxes were big? He sent me an
Oh, dude.
e-fax with a copy of a check for $40,000. And I was like, what is this $40,000? Did you win a lawsuit or was it an accident? You just claimed a big check. He's like, this is how much you make in 1 month doing mortgages. I was sitting at Fullerton Junior College and I'm like, I quit college right there. I had a vending machine business. I sold my vending machine business. It came with a truck. I literally rode the bus because I want to save every dollar I had. I sold my truck. I sold everything. He's like, you need a 6-month cushion to start making money. So in July 2003, I walked away from college. My parents were mad because I didn't finish college. I walked away from my vending machine business and I got into the mortgage industry. But when I started, I thought it was going to be this glamorous job. He put me in as a telemarketer, right? Back then, before fax blasting become illegal, we were doing a lot of fax blasting. And after fax blasting, we were, running on a dialer, and I was just setting up calls and appointments. And eventually, as we grew the company, I started, doing all the junior processing. Then I started like scrubbing all the files. And then when the market changed in 07, 08, I sat through the market and I got into Chapter 13 refinancing because that's when FHA became really big again in 2007. But I was still doing refinances, but we were losing equity was starting to dissipate. And then in 2008, 2009, I started becoming an internal loan officer for a lot of big REO companies where I was their preferred lender. Then I started hiring LOs. And then after that, in 2008, 2009, when people were leaving the industry, I was still making money in the industry, and a lot of my friends started working for me. So probably middle of 2008, I haven't done an application. I've done a couple here and there, but really take a loan from start to finish in a while. I just started managing more loan officers,
There you
training
go.
more loan officers, and then just different things happen. But yeah, that's how I started. I started in 2003 with a friend bringing me in.
Dude, that's crazy. And like so many people in this industry got started for money. Somebody like you, they're just like, hey, dude, check out this money. Dude, that's why I got started in this industry. A buddy of mine came to me and said, hey, we're making all kinds of money over here. I need your help with marketing. We're growing like crazy. So I went over and, I was a junior. I wasn't even licensed at the time. That's back when you had to get licensed. And though right when they released licensing after the whole, the whole shit went down in the industry. So I go over there and I see some of these guys making, like you said, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month. And I'm like, what? Like this idiot can make that much money? I'm in, like, count me in. I can do this too. And then of course, then now you and I had figured out though. And it's so cool hearing you say that is you surround yourself with the right people. You haven't taken a full application in years. Same way when my team, I had an incredible team surrounding me. You can't be as successful as you have or any of the top 1% of originators in the industry and do it by yourself. You have to have a team. You have to have a great process in place. Because if you don't, it's this business will chew you up and spit you out too. So that's super exciting to hear. And it's interesting too, seeing the new wave of loan officers. You and I, again, doing it as long as we have, I see this new flood of LOs coming into the industry, and it'll be interesting. I hope hopefully they see great people like yourself creating valuable content, and they're like, okay, this guy's doing it right. If I can just replicate kind of what he's doing, they'll be just fine. But it will be interesting. I don't know what your take is on it, but it'll be interesting to see what the new wave of loan officers brings the next few years.
Yeah, it's gonna be different. I feel like you need to have that long-term patience, frugal mentality, right? I think it's completely different because I feel like trying to do business with realtors, and so you got to think differently. You got to have the patience to wait it out.
Oh, okay. So this kind of leads us into where I want to go with this discussion, because I think real estate agents, that's one of those things that you and I, again, we came from a background. You and I have both gone to the realtors' offices, I'm sure, tried to schmooze them, taking them donuts, taking them to lunch. We played that game, but the game is changing. And something that you have done so perfectly while we're on Brand+Shred is talking about just that, is you have done this incredible job. And when did your journey, when did you recognize that building a brand, like when did you realize that social media was like, hey, this is a play. Like, I've got to start putting time into this. I have to start creating content. When did it really set in for you?
In 2017. In 2017, I had a company of probably 100 loan officers. I left a company I was with. I opened my own company. I had my own warehouse line, did all that. And of course, we were a smaller company, so our rates aren't as good as these other wholesalers. And then the company I did leave, that vice president left that company and worked for another company, and he pretty much undercut my rates and took all my guys. When all my guys left, I hired 3 account execs. Their job was to go out and meet accounts and set up accounts for me to do business with them, right? And then of course I would market for that real estate agent. I would, text their clients for them, mass email for them, do all that for them. But then of course other loan officers would find out about my account execs and work out side deals with them. So at that point I was like, I don't trust any realtor. I don't trust any account exec. Loan officers, unless you are the rainmaker that brings in the business to them, if they are a self-gen loan officer that has their own book of business, they will eventually leave you for another lender. So you can't bank on them. You can only bank on yourself. And everyone here is trying to figure out the one secret that real estate agents figured out: deal with the consumer first. So in 2017, let me cut out the realtor. Let me cut out these loan officers. Let me cut out the AEs. Let me find a way to get to the realtor before everyone else does. I mean, the consumer before everyone else does.
I say get to the consumer first.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly what you've done. So you found this in 2017. And so it's interesting to hear that too. I'm sure it didn't happen overnight for you. I'm sure you were creating content for, X amount of time where it's finally like, oh my gosh, yes, I can finally make it, people are finally starting to recognize my videos. I'm finally starting to get some views or some activity. Was there a time where you're finally like, oh my gosh, yeah, all this content, all this, all the effort, all the time that I'm putting into this is finally starting to pay off? Do you still feel like that? Is it finally, because now you get tens of thousands of views on your videos. Some of your videos have, hundreds of thousands of views, like you've done insane. Was there a certain time where you're like, hey, this is finally starting to I'm starting to finally, catch my stride here?
Yeah, so in 2017, my company was going down. Like, so I had some loan officers. I had like eventually you can see the company evaporating, right? So I started June 2017. I say April 2018 is when I started turning a pipe of loans. That's when I
Mm,
didn't care if I had loan officers working for me anymore. I didn't care about my own team, my own company. That's when the pipe really turned for me. I was doing a lot of 100% financing free credit repair, which was cool back then, but now I probably wouldn't touch that because you're just combing through a lot for a little. But back then,
sure.
I was trying to build an audience. But it is important how you start your audience because I'm still dealing with today's audience. I mean, the audience from 2018, which means I'm still dealing with people with bad credit. I'm still dealing with people who are still saving.
Mm.
They're still in the beginning stages. I'm still combing through some of that. I have a bigger and better audience now because I changed my content strategy, but I still have residue from my old audience that I'm still combing through.
Dude, that's super interesting. So, I mean, for all those who are just starting today, you want to think about your audience. Who are you really trying to connect with? Who are you trying to reach? What content are you creating? Because to that point, me and you, it sounds like we went down similar paths, like trying to even reach out to the, hey, if you got poor credit, I can help anybody. Like, hey,
Yeah.
FHA loans, like, and now we deal with the ramifications for years. But now that we're creating the right content, we're actually targeting the I don't want to call it a better audience. Like we're not discriminatory. We want to help anybody and everybody, but at the same time, like as you create the content that's actually targeting a certain a niche audience, if you will, then you start to see, of course, those people, that's who's going to reach out to you. That's who you're going to connect with. So let's kind of talk about that. How have these trends and like, how do trends that you find on TikTok, how do they help build brand awareness for you?
So first of all, I do everything based on Gary Vee's pillar strategy:
Love
jab,
it.
jab, jab, right hook.
Yep.
Right. You have to decide. I feel like there's different with a mortgage. There's different parts of the journey depending on the stage. Every stage has a different pillar. There are people who are shopping, people who are ready to get approved, people who are still saving money for their down payment, people who are still fixing their credit. Depending on the audience you're looking for, then with that audience has a different pillar. So it all depends on, you need leads now, you're trying to build leads for the future. It all depends on your audience, and then through that audience I have different pillars for different audiences.
That's just so smart. And again, you and I both huge Gary Vee fans. Like we've done the exact same thing here. Shred is kind of structured in the same way with this pillar of content. And I think making sure that the trends, and I want to kind of dive into this a little bit more, because the trend that you're putting out, when you started with TikTok or IG Reels, was there certain trends that you started to see? They're like, hey, like I want to start doing that. Is there a trend in particular with that you saw that you're like, hey, this may be a good place for us to jump in? When did you see TikTok as like, hey, this is some fun. This is a great way to really connect with a different audience?
So I know I've talked to enough. I don't want to say names, or I don't want to badmouth anybody.
Sure.
I've seen some big audience. I've reached out to some guys with some big, a lot of followers. I don't have that many followers on TikTok, but I can tell you I'm closing way more. I'm closing, the quantity of leads I'm generating is a lot more than some of these other guys, even though they have a high, they have a high level of, or a mass audience, but it's some kid in Panama who's not going to get a mortgage. So
Yep.
I think you got to not look at the quantity of your audience, but the quality. We do a
Oof.
lot of targeting in specific areas. Like I'm in California. So my audience, let's say I only have 30,000 followers in my audience, but my 30,000, 90% of them are in California, Arizona, and Nevada. And, Southern California. They're not, I talked to some, especially attractive women. They might have
Oh
a
yeah.
100,000 audience, but you can look through their back page of their DM. This is guys hitting on them, right?
Yep.
Some of these people that have tons of questions, like they're not even in a place to buy. So don't focus so much on the audience. Focus on the content. So when the right people find your content, right, it's cohesive and it's easy for you to find.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. We've seen that. We've dealt with that. It's amazing to see that some of these people, like they're just focused on building an audience. They just want the numbers. They want to be like, oh yeah, look at me, I've got 100,000 followers. But then you said you look at their engagement, you look at everything else, and it's like nothing. So I think that is something.
But I will give you one. Well, I will give you one trick.
Okay, hear it.
If you're new watching and you're gonna start on TikTok or Instagram Reels, make sure your video is less than 5 seconds. Your first handful of videos. Why is that important? So if you watch 3 seconds of a 5-second video, that's over a 50% watch rate. So if you watch 10 seconds of a 30-second video, that's a 30-second watch rate. So when you have a higher percentage of a watch rate, that will get you into the algorithm. Once you're in the algorithm, just like buying a home, once you have a home, refinancing cash out is easy, but to get in the home is the hard thing. So to get in the algorithm, you want your handful of videos. You want to copy trends by copying the sound and keep your videos under 5 seconds. That right there will get you into the algorithm. Then you kind of go away from it a little bit. You'll see your watch videos start dropping a little. You got to, balance it out. So that is the one trick that I can see no one's really teaching, is that keep your first handful of videos under 5 seconds to bust through. Because if you have a high percentage of watch through, it's going to tell TikTok, this person's got some juice. This person's got the good. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's so, guys, the master, he is sharing the secrets today, ladies and gentlemen. And this is why I was so excited to have you, because you're fully engulfed in the, creating content, the TikTok and IG reels and just content in particular. But it's these things that you start learning along the way. You're like, okay, you know what? This is the trend. Because I want to continue on trends a little bit, because that's something I get asked a lot too. And something that I've seen with trends is, and sometimes I see something on TikTok and I'm like, do I really want to do that trends? And like some of them are dance. And I hear a lot of people within mortgage and real estate. They're like, well, I see these kids doing this dance. I'm going to go do this dance. I mean, what trends? And you have some fun. You've done some really fun trends. No trends start in the mortgage industry. Was there anything in particular that you're like, hey, I see this trend. It's kind of going viral. I'm going to try to, I'm going to go take that. I'm going to make it my own. I'm going to adapt it to mortgage.
Yes. So the one trend that I've learned, and I'm humble enough to say, there's this guy, he has the most followers on TikTok. His name is Scott Bentley, I think his name is.
Yeah, we know Scott. He's been on the show. Yeah.
He does a lot of, I call it POV, point of view of what the consumer is going through. Even though it's not really teaching real content or teaching real things about mortgages, it's how they're feeling some type of way about what they're going through on the home buying process, right? How in the seller's market right now, you can't get your offer accepted. He does a lot of point of view, or like, my mortgage payment is cheaper than renting. That's of course not in California, but in other parts of the United States. More point of view, not teaching people how to qualify. So I can tell that riding the emotions, or how high, like my number, I think one of my top videos is seeing rent change every year, and people like can feel, oh my gosh, I can completely understand you. Those type of videos do better than you actually educating somebody. I did the dancing stuff for a little bit. You watch my new videos, I don't do that much dancing anymore. The audience that finds your dancing is not an audience that you're trying to tell TikTok, find me these people. Even though your audience might be bigger, but it's not the audience you want. So when I was doing more dance stuff, my followers came from Guam. Let me know the next time you do a loan for someone in Guam.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's see how many applications you're taking from Guam these days, right? But that is, dude, what you're speaking to, and everybody listening to this is absolutely like, this is spot on, because I hear so many people like, well, I see this, this celebrity went viral doing this. They use this sound or they use this clip, so I got to go do this dance. It's not saying that you can't use that clip or that sound bit, but really tailoring it to your audience. Most people, let's just be honest, they don't give a shit if their mortgage professional can dance. Like, it may be fun, it may be cute or whatever, it may catch some attention, but ultimately at the end of the day, like you said, are you educating them? Are you providing value with them? And you want that audience, you want those people who are going to go fill out an application, who are going to bring you business. So let's transition to that. I mean, has it really, again, you mentioned Scott. Scott's a good friend of ours. We've had him on the show. How has creating this content, has following trends, how is it really, like, has it helped your business? Have you seen business grow from it?
Yeah. You know what? My business really changed. So like I said, in 2018, I started all over again. Right. And once 2018 hit, I had to sell my house because all my money went to pay the guy who ran my ads, paying for my graphic designer, pretty much paying to get things going. So I had to sell my house, use my equity to preserve it, because when I ran the business, I rode it till the wheels fall off. I should have let go when I should have let go, and I didn't, and I held on to it. So in 2018, when everything was gone and I started all over, I think it started kicking in April, but in November, when I funded 18 loans by myself as a loan officer, that's when I knew, okay, this is the real deal. It's going to happen.
Dude, that's awesome. You're like, hey, you know what? This is something, this is big. And I want to ask this too, because I'm sure people are probably thinking this in the back of their mind. When you create content and I honestly, I've seen you on different platforms, especially TikTok, IG. Are those the ones that you focus on? Do you even worry about LinkedIn? Do you worry about Facebook? Do you worry about YouTube? Is it mainly just focused on IG and TikTok?
No. So I want you to know, when I started in 2017, Facebook was it. Most of the qualified buyers, even till in this market right now, you might see me a lot on TikTok because I engage a lot more on TikTok, but most of my buyers come from Facebook. I say
Wow.
75% of my buyers, or the people that reach out to me, come from Facebook, right? They're
Really?
more qualified,
Hmm.
right? I have an ad I run, which is my 401k ad. So if they have 401k, they've been at their job for a while, they're wage earners, and they have money saved. And typically people who have at least over 10 to 20 grand in their 401k have pretty good credit. And most of those ads do really well on Facebook because the Facebook audience is still OG, triple OG, that plays by the rules, saves their money, that frugal person. If they came from another country, they found a way to become citizens, and they're just savers, right? They're savers. They're not buying random stuff on the internet.
Dude, that is one. And again, man, you're literally sharing all these things that everybody needs to be listening to, because so many people are creating videos on TikTok. They're like, well, yeah, I'm getting views. I'm getting, I'm starting conversations. How many of those are of a younger demographic, of a younger generation, that they're not ready to buy a home? These ads, like you said, on Facebook, these people that you're targeting, they're established people. They're established buyers. They're people who have the money to buy a home. Even people are talking about millennials, or the biggest home buying trend, and they're going to continue to be. Targeting the right audience is everything. So keep that in your mind for those who are just starting or going to say, hey, you know what? Today's the day. I've heard Minh talking and I want to start creating content. Make sure you really know. And you can kind of see this underlying topic and this trend that him and I are talking about is you have to know your audience, who you're trying to appeal to, because that does make a difference in what content you're going to create, what audience you're going to attract, what people you're going to be having discussions with. So make sure that as you start prepping for this and start creating content, that you have that in the back of your mind. So when I have to ask, when you see a trend, or you're like, hey, that's my next trend, we're going to jump on that. And like, how do you come up with the thought process? Do you think about, because I saw your mortgage moratorium, like, do you start thinking about what's going on in the mortgage industry? Because clearly, I mean, you're still an extremely well-versed mortgage professional. You know what's going on in the market. When you see a trend on TikTok or IG, do you say, okay, how are we going to make that ours, or how are we going to turn that into mortgage?
So when I look at a trend, of course, my schedule from like 8 to 12 p.m., I just search the internet for what is the new mortgage thing to talk about.
Nice.
Some things I don't talk about because I know, like I said, it's a law out there, but will it really exist, or will it really affect somebody? It doesn't. Even though it's trending, I feel like I keep it true to myself. I know it's not useful. I know it's like a loophole that's never gonna work, right? So I don't talk about it. But if I feel like, okay, it's gonna help somebody, then I will talk about it, right? Like, I really didn't enjoy talking about the moratorium all the time because it really didn't affect me, but people were so concerned about it that I talked about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, if I feel like it's gonna help somebody, it might not benefit me, I'll teach it. But if I know it's just there for political reasons, why someone created this law or this rule, but I really know it's not going to affect anybody, I won't talk about it. So I decide first, like, when I see a rule or a law, is it something important to talk about right now? Like the Helpers Act that hopefully might happen. If that helper
Yep.
thing's passed, is going to change a lot of lives. I will talk about that, right? About this
Love
new
it.
refinance. It's not, you got to be like under the 80% medium income. It's like, to own a house in where I live in California, to be under the 80% medium income, you're probably not going to be able to afford a house. Why would I talk about a refinance program that barely anyone will qualify for, right?
Yep.
So that's the reason why I won't talk about that. So I look at the trend first, and then how can I break down the trend? And each platform does things differently, right? Like
Sure.
TikTok, which I just started doing, is you can do a 3-minute TikTok, right? Or you can do and that TikTok can go into a 3-minute like IGTV. But if you want to go reels, you only have 30 seconds to do it. Even like, so you got to like, it sucks, but you got to watch the timer, right?
Yeah.
And we have a business account. A business account is different on IG reels. We only get 30 seconds when you get a minute on IG creator or IG public, right? Sometimes we do run ads. So that's why you're in a business page. You can't play music. There's a lot of things that you got to focus on, but every platform has their own strategy, right?
Sure.
I think what I would have done different, I would have focused more of my energy onto YouTube, um, because I do a lot of long form content where I do a lot
Yeah.
of mortgage teaching. That's where YouTube lives. I wish I would have done that and was more organized, which I'm doing now. I was working for, so another thing too, if you work for a big company, they don't let you say a lot of stuff on the internet. I don't want to
No,
badmouth, you guys, you probably know the company I used to work at. I don't work there anymore.
I do.
I have
Yep.
nothing negative to say, but because of them, they literally dwarfed my YouTube. And because of
Really?
that, now I'm rebuilding YouTube again. But my content is YouTube based because it's long.
Dude, I'm right there with you. Well, you mentioned local, which I want to go into. You kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago, but I want to come back to it. But you really mentioned like YouTube. I'm right there with you too. I think YouTube is one of those. I feel like that's one of the mistakes that I made. Like I wish I would have focused more content on there, especially because mortgage content, for the most part, if you're putting out relevant and valuable content, it's evergreen. Some people can come across it months from now or even years from now, and if you're talking about the mortgage process or whatever it may be, people can pick that up and be like, oh, this is extremely valuable. I'm going to buy a home or whatever. And I love that you mentioned too, sometimes, especially in the mortgage industry, you'll get these programs or this news, if you will, that's like, oh, I got to talk about that news. But then you actually think about it, you break it down, you're like, how many people does this actually affect? Like how many people, like how many homeowners is this really going to affect? So knowing your craft, being the master of your craft, like you're talking about, knowing what laws, what changes, what's up and coming that actually are going to affect consumers, and then talking about that being valuable, that is absolutely spot on. And YouTube is one of those where, being the number 2 search engine in the whole world, people are there all the time. It continues to grow. They continue to innovate. And I think that's one of those too, that our team, we've started to focus way more content on YouTube. Like this will be on YouTube. YouTube is one of those that I just think, and especially now, I tell people all the time, people think I'm crazy, but I'm like, you need to start putting your content on YouTube. And so many, especially our industry, they don't get it. It's just so foreign to them. Like people are Facebook. And I'm with you. A lot of our opportunities came from Facebook when we were generating a lot of leads for the mortgage business. They came from Facebook. They still come from Facebook a lot. So knowing your platform, and I love that you talked about IG, Reels, if you're a business, that's a whole nother topic. That we could dive into that for so long, but know what you want to create. Know if you need to have a business account, personal account, creator account, like you mentioned, because that is going to affect how your content is seen by it. But I want to go back to local, and you mentioned this.
I just want to add one thing
of course.
to YouTube. So like myself, we can create content all day long, but we're not good at, like my team and I, we're not specialty at algorithm. We can't get an algorithm. YouTube rewards consistency. Instagram and TikTok, you got to figure out the algorithm and ride the algorithm. So if you are someone who's new and you're trying to figure out how to, get more views, YouTube rewards consistency and hard work. That's all.
Dude, that's 100% true. Like consistency more than anything with YouTube. Like, of course, there's a few other things. Like if people are seeing it or people engaging with it, yeah. But consistency is absolutely. We've seen the exact same thing. So that is. See again, guys. Man, he's sharing all the secrets here. If you're wanting to start out, he's an open book. He's willing to share, and that's what I love about guys like yourself. Is like, hey, I've been successful. Here's the thing, though. And I know this is true just as much as I do, is you and I could talk about this till we're blue in the face, but how many people are actually going to do it? Like very, very few people of LOs or, executives, mid-level management, people that hear this, they're going to be like, well, I don't have the time. They're going to make some excuse and be like, oh, I can't do that. Like these guys have teams. These guys, no, both you and I started just using our phone, creating content, just making it happen. So stop making excuses and just freaking start doing it. That's really what I would love to see. But so going back to local, you kind of mentioned this in the very beginning. Do you now go into a coffee shop locally and people are like, oh my gosh, like what's a mortgage? Like I can't believe it's Minh. Like, has it started to get to that point where locally it's really started to again affect your business?
Yes, it has. I think locally, especially we go to Disneyland a lot, so I get recognized at Disneyland a lot. So I used to have this video where it was this VOE video where this kid ran up and VOE. So that was cool. So yeah, I see more. So we do a lot more like local marketing, local targeting marketing. So I do see people a lot more. There's some pros and cons that come with it. Sometimes my wife's like, we're at the grocery store, like stop answering their questions, just tell them you'll call them later. Besides that, it's cool.
That's awesome, dude. The fact I've seen your video of that. Look, it's just so much fun when you start to, and again, it gets enjoyable. And so I have to ask this too. Do you enjoy creating content? Like, and this is a two-sided question. Do you still enjoy being that you've been in this since 2003? Do you still enjoy the mortgage side of the business? And then do you enjoy what you're doing now, creating the content?
So keeping it 100 with you, I enjoy making the content way more. I've given up a lot of money to do the content since I'm not doing the loan, but because the quality of life is better. And for some reason, a lot of people just don't want to be on camera. They'd rather be the loan officer. So,
Bro.
you know, a lot of loan officers who work are What's a Mortgage viewers. They don't want to be on camera. I'm like, good for you. Good for you. You know, that's what they enjoy. So for myself, I don't enjoy it as much anymore because it takes away from my passion, which is making more content.
Dude, I'm right there with you. People ask me all the time. They're like, "Don't you miss like writing up, like helping people on mortgage?" I'm like, no, I don't like. I enjoy people, and this medium allows me, guys like you and I, who love people and love creating content. This allows us to do that on a grander scale. Allows us to interact. Allows us to create content, have fun with it, enjoy it. So with that being in mind, and I kind of want to, as we start to wrap things up here, is that what you plan to do as you continue to create content? Is that more of the business model, is going into content creation and being a creator? That's what I mean, whether it's YouTube or whatever, is being more of a content creator and a content creation company?
Yeah. So right now, What's a Mortgage? You know, like after leaving the big company I left,
Yeah.
we're independent now. So, you know, because of the restrictions, we left. We were going to work out a deal with another tech company that found a way, just like, you know, United Wholesale can just blast out approvals or get approvals flying
Yeah.
out. There was another company that is selling a specific proprietary. I can't say too much about it because I had to sign a
Sure.
non-compete. So I was going to go with them, but they made me leave my other company first. And then it ended up being going bad, you know, and they,
No.
you know, once I left, I was like too open for them to like work out a bad deal with me. It didn't go down. So now I work with multiple lenders, and depending on the box the consumer fit in, then I steer them in that direction. So we're more of lead gen now and content creation.
Dude, that's awesome. And but you, like you said, you enjoy it too. Like
Yeah, correct.
that's I think so many people sometimes. And again, here's the thing: is so many of you may not like content creation, and so I'd like to ask you that. What are your thoughts for those who are like, well, I don't want to create content? Do you think the future is, because I talk like you need to build your brand, you need to get out there. If those who aren't wanting to, if they're not comfortable with it, do they just need to push through it, or like hey, just figure it out, or like, what are your thoughts when it comes to those people who don't want to create content?
If you don't want to create content, you better be a really good loan officer to somebody who creates a content and work under them. So we have, I say I have like 20 loan officers that just they don't want to create content, which is fine. If they all want to make content, you and me would have more people to compete with, right? But we
It's
don't.
so true, dude.
Right? If they don't want to make it, I'm like, I don't encourage them. Go ahead and make content. I'm like, you know what? Be a good loan officer if that's what you want to do, because everyone's passion is different, right? If they don't,
True.
if they're not going to be great on camera, they don't want to be on camera, they should go work for you or go work for me, and they don't have to worry about it. But if they do want to make content, you got to bust through that fear, right? To me, when 2017, when I had this realtor account in my back pocket. You can look them up. It's Active Real Estate. They're in Corona. He's the #1 real estate agent for Zillow Flex for Corona, right? I had him in my back pocket. The LO, when they left me, they took that account from me. It showed me that you have no loyalty. And because of that, I live not in a fear like I used to, but I need to be the rainmaker. And the only way to be a rainmaker is to get out in front of the camera.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. And I think that's, as our industry and as technology, like you mentioned, like technology within our industry is continuing to rapidly evolve. And those who aren't willing to create content, the mortgage process is becoming more and more efficient. Those who aren't willing to create content, to be the ones in front of the camera out there, actually being the ones, we're educating the consumers ultimately. That's what we're doing. And we enjoy doing it. Those who aren't willing to create will be the ones behind the scenes, like doing the mortgage. Like that's it. Like that's just like, hey, which is great. That's awesome. We need a team making sure that happens. But yeah, ultimately, that's just how it is. So, all right, I want to start wrapping things up. I got my questions here. My team's incredible. But real quick, are you in Corona? Is that where you're in California?
No, I'm in Orange County, but Corona is like the next, pretty much the next main city.
My wife was born in Corona. That's why I asked. My wife's from Corona. Well, she was in Corona for a while and then went to Oregon, but she calls Corona. So I'm like, oh, Corona, California. But okay, so we got 3 random questions. And Minh, again, I cannot thank you enough. This has been a ton of fun. We got to do this again. Now you've got my mind like working, like connecting with you is just like, dude, I love collaborating with other content creators who get it. Like you're one of those guys who get it. You see the future of the industry. So this is just, guys, this is why you collaborate. This is why you can't be scared to reach out to incredible people like Minh. And again, and I say this with tongue in cheek because there are some people who reach out to me like, hey, I want to do content creation. If you're not doing it with a mutually beneficial purpose, because we're going to take this, we're going to syndicate it, we're going to use it for both of our channels. It's going to continue to get, our audiences out there. But if you're reaching out for people like Minh, be respectful of their time. Be respectful of him and his team because, again, this is what we're doing. So I got 3 random questions. You ready to do rapid fire? Wrap this up? What are you most excited about right now? What really gets you just turning? What gets you up in the morning, just gets you freaking fired up for the day?
Automation. Trying to figure out a way to have automation sound like the girlfriend experience. Right? How can you make automation feel like, oh, if they answer this question, then I want to ask them this next. Well, if they answer this, right now when someone finishes our questionnaire, our jot forms, or our bot, how can I send a text message that make it so organic that they message back? If it's not organic and they can tell it's a bot, they're not going to message back. So how do I, it's just this like moving pieces around to make sure the automation feels like the girlfriend experience.
Humanizing automation. Like that's just it, is making that. So yeah, like you said, it's not a bot. We all know when we get a response and it's back from a bot, you're like, oh man, but if it feels like, oh my gosh, Minh just text me back. Like he took the time out of his day to text me back personally. Those are the companies that win in the future. 100% agree. All right. Number 2, if you had to delete all but 3 apps from your phone, which ones would you keep?
Which apps would I keep? I would keep my Amazon Prime, because you can rent any movie, almost any movie pretty much.
Yep.
And the last one is just my contacts.
Oh, there you go. Those are actually really good ones. Cool. I like it. I'd say the same thing. I don't know if I'd go Amazon. I would go contacts for sure. Texting, just because I don't know if there's the same apps. My third one, oh geez, I don't even know my third one. I don't even know my apps on my phone, but I don't know if I like Amazon. I guess Amazon's a good choice because you can get anything from Amazon, huh? Like you literally at the touch of a button, you get anything from Amazon. Jeez. See, guys, I'm learning from him. Okay, last question. What's one bad habit you're trying to get rid of?
One bad habit? Squirrel. I squirrel bad.
Dude, I never. Oh, hey, what? No, dude, I'm a squirrel too. Like, dude, my ADHD is so bad, and like, especially when you're creating content, my team's probably laughing in the other room because they know how bad I am of it. Like, we'll be creating content, and I'll be on my phone, I'll be like checking trends, I'll be looking at something, I'll be like, dude, that way. Then like, dude, focus, just stay here with me for like 10 minutes. So, dude, I couldn't agree with you more on. Dude, this has been so insightful. Like I said, man, I'm grateful for having you on the show, for all you're willing to share, and for you actually, you're putting your money in where your mouth is. You're actually doing it. You're actually creating. You're showing people that it can be done. And like I said, and you're not scared of it. You're like, hey, I'm doing this. I enjoy it. I love that you got so real, so honest in this, because I think we need more of that in this industry. No more hiding behind it. Like, some are willing to create. If you're not willing to create, hey, then Minh and I, we love having people on our teams that aren't willing to create. We'll take you all day long. So, man, I really appreciate you coming out here and hanging out with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, dude, there's so much more to come, guys. I'm definitely going to have Minh back on the show. And guys, if you don't follow him right now, number 1, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. And we have Minh, all of his different socials tagged in this, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Instagram, whether it's TikTok. Go check him out. Go follow him. Get ideas. Like he said, he follows guys like Scott Belly. Find other people that are creating valuable content and the ways you want to get into it, and see, maybe you don't. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you can see his content like, hey, this isn't the thing for me. But until next time, guys, appreciate you joining us here on an episode of Brand+Shred. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit that bell below as well so you don't miss a single episode, because I know today has been incredibly insightful for you. With that, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Now it's time for all of you to go shred, go show up, hustle, repeat every day. See you.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much again for joining us on another episode of Brand+Shred. I hope you got as much value out of this episode as I did. And if you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss a single weekly episode with the incredible guests that we're bringing you to help you build your personal brand. Click that subscribe button, share, and even leave a comment. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you next week on another episode of Brand+Shred.